What is going on, guys? Bexio back, and today we've got a brand new video talking about a stock that has the potential to 10x at least from here and probably make a lot of people a lot of money. And that stock is Plug Power, and that is a company that I've been invested in for a while now. And I started, my first buys into Plug Power was when the shares were under $3 a share. It was when I got the majority of the shares I have. And honestly, I think that they have the ability to become an energy giant by the end of the decade. So it's not something that's a really quick investment, or like in 1 year, 2 years, it could do all this. I mean, it may be, but I'm thinking more end of the decade, 2030, Plug becoming an energy giant and something that, you know, a lot of the world turns to. And I see that because already a lot of the world's turning to green energy, renewable energy, stuff like that, moving away from oil and all that. So gas and cars, honest, EVs are huge, and hydrogen is something that can be stepped in pretty easily and get people to, you know, not really need to train people how to use hydrogen. Like, the problem right now with hydrogen and with like Plug is that there's no infrastructure. So for Plug to be able to develop a car or use their fuel cells and sell them to a manufacturer or something, the infrastructure is not there right now where people can stop at a hydrogen station and fuel up the car. So, but it is coming and it's being built, and that's why I say it's more of a 2030 play. But it's on its way and it's being built now. Thinking about comparing hydrogen to electric vehicles, it's not like super relevant, because Plug, I don't think, is going to be manufacturing cars. It's not going to be a car company. It's going to be an energy company. It's going to be manufacturing hydrogen and hydrogen fuel cells, and it's already shown that. Like, that's what they've been acquiring a couple companies in the last year to ramp their hydrogen production. They basically, if hydrogen was to take over, they would be the main supplier of hydrogen, and I think that that's really good for them. They would have first mover advantage, and then they would own the market majority because of that. Is a lot of the reasons what Cathie Woods was thinking with Tesla, before Tesla was even a $100 billion company and it got to where it is now. But EVs, like, people need to be retrained to plug it in at home, charge it at home, get a charger installed, map out charging stations so that you can make sure that, you know, you go 300 miles, 500 miles, whatever the charge is, and then charge up for another 45 minutes and then continue driving. Hydrogen is something very close to gas, where you wouldn't need to retrain people that way. You could turn gas stations into hydrogen stations, and it would take a little bit of work in putting the infrastructure in and stuff, but the infrastructure is kind of already there with gas stations that exist now. So you could add it to gas stations as hydrogen parts of that gas station, or just another hose with hydrogen in it, and it would be normal people do now. You would pull in to buy gas, but it would be buying hydrogen. It'd be a different way of, you wouldn't just put the nozzle in the car. It would be like a way to put it on and stuff to fill up hydrogen, and then you would take it out and be on your merry way, a minute or two filling up, and then you're gone. So it wouldn't be a lot of retraining people and getting people to now plan out road trips because their batteries can't go, or their batteries go 300 miles and you need a 45-minute recharge, compared to a hydrogen where if it goes the same 300 miles, maybe you need a 2-minute fill up, where it's just what you would normally do. You just go to the gas station, fill up, and go back on the road. And then a part of the like retail side of it, that would be kind of what normal like everyday usage would be with like cars, and then them becoming an energy giant would be supplying obviously hydrogen to those gas stations, or hydrogen stations they would be now. But a much bigger concern is everything wants to go EV and be an electric vehicle, but for the trucking industry, it's not really viable because it's a lot of weight. Lithium batteries, or what the EVs are, is very heavy, so you're not able to all of the regulation and stuff in trucking, where weight is a big factor on how they can move things, how much they can do, and all this kind of stuff. So when you would need hydrogen because it's very light. I don't even know what it would be compared to like gas, if it would be lighter than gas and make it even better for trucking and shipping. But you could take hydrogen and basically fill trucks with it, shipping, anything like that, and it would be a green energy, renewable energy type thing, and then you would go and be like normal trucking, and you wouldn't have to worry about weight, and it might even help your weight out actually. So it would still get away from the fossil fuels argument into the green energy, and then obviously trucking and shipping would just be acted like normal. You would just go to the hydrogen station that would be, fill up and go and whatever, and you wouldn't need trucking. Maybe you need even more than 45 minutes to charge an EV for a truck, but you run into those big road bumps and regulations with weight, and I think that's where hydrogen really is going to play out first, is trucking and everything. And once that infrastructure comes in, then maybe we see more infrastructure with, regular cars turning to hydrogen and getting people involved in that. But Plug isn't a company that would need to sell cars like Tesla needs to sell, or Tesla's majority of money comes from selling cars and the carbon credits, which are turning kind of worthless now. But Plug would just be that energy provider, so they wouldn't be selling cars. They would be selling hydrogen to the hydrogen stations across the country, across the world, and you would be having them do that. They'd be producing the hydrogen, as well as they produce the hydrogen fuel cells. So instead of selling cars, they would sell fuel cells to car manufacturers and then sell hydrogen to the hydrogen stations and places like that for fueling. So they wouldn't even need to get into that automobile thing, which is a very, tough business. It's not something that a lot of companies can get involved in, and it's not something where people win in it. It's a very, very tough business. That's why there's not a lot of car companies. There's the legacy ones, and there's Tesla, the new one, and that's it. There's not a lot of car companies out there. So, but that's where I think Plug's biggest advantage would be, is hydrogen energy, being the energy provider. So instead of comparing them to the Teslas, Fords, all of those of the world, I want to compare them to Chevron and Exxon, those types of energy giants, where if hydrogen was to come and take over, they could get a market share of the energy sector, and it would be at least comparable to what these companies are at. It would be at least, where Chevron, Exxon are. I think it could be even higher, but we're just going to take them as an example of where it could go. So we can look right now and see Plug Power is actually a $16 billion company, and Exxon is $245 billion, Chevron is $202 billion. So they're substantially worth more than Plug, and to see Plug go from $16 billion to $250 billion, $250 billion, like 245, $200 billion. I think that even because they would have first mover advantage and take the majority of the market, that Plug could actually see 300, 400 billion, maybe even 500 billion if hydrogen was to really sweep and take over and they were to be the main providers of it. So comparing Plug to Chevron, if Plug was to become worth what Chevron's worth, then one Plug share would be trading around $383.70, which is about 12.5 times the market cap of Plug right now, which is what Chevron is. Chevron's 12.5 times the market cap of Plug, so you multiply that by Plug's price of $30.77 right now, and you get $383.70. So I think that that's pretty viable, and something that definitely could happen within 2030, by 2030. I don't think it's going to be something that happens next year or even the year after. Things would really have to ramp up for that to happen. But I think end of the decade is something where we might start seeing hydrogen actually come into play. And if you were to compare it to Exxon, then Exxon is a little over 15 times what Plug's market is right now. So you do the same calculation, you get $466.47 per share, which even better. And I think the plug could be a $500 to $600 stock by 2030. Big if is if hydrogen can become a staple and find its way into, you know, trucking and shipping, commercial vehicle usage, and then find its way into like retail, regular person use cases. So we can even look at my plug holdings right here and see I have 110 shares of plug that I own right now, and I actually have 23 shares on Webull. So those are right here. I have 23 shares on Webull that I bought, and honestly, what I'm thinking of is to actually buy, or I want to get up to like at least 250 shares of plug. I'm thinking about that. The tough part is finding time or when I want to do that, because the price is obviously starting to go up a lot more. They've resolved their accounting issue, which dragged the price down hard. You know, the market crashed, plus they had that accounting issue, so they lost tons of money from like $70 down to $20, a little under $20 at sometimes. But I think that, you know, I want to get into more plug stuff. The problem being crypto being a good deal. Crypto being a good deal. You know, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they are obviously had a big crash. The whole crypto market did. And trying to get into those types of more into those types of coins and stuff. So we got to see if, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider, and assessing risk and more fundamental research and stuff like that. But to stop going into crypto and start going into plug, who knows? I mean, maybe we'll see what happens. But it's like crypto, there's a lot of opportunity right there, especially after this crash and stuff. So we'll see what happens with that stuff. But ideally, I'd want to have more shares of plug, like 250, 350 shares even, but 250 is more reasonable. So we'll see what can happen. I also don't want plug to take over my portfolio and stuff. Like, it's already, let's see. It's already on my Robinhood portfolio. It's already 18%, so it's probably pretty close to 20%, 22% of my portfolio. Which is obviously up there, so I don't really want to let it take over that stuff, but it's also looks to be a very good long-term investment type thing. So we'll see what happens, but as always, guys, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. See you guys in my next video.